Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steel Donut, and also welcome to the Glazecast. This is episode 2. With me, my name's Bob. With me is Connor.
Hello there.
Matt.
Hey.
And Jeremy.
Hey, hey.
Who's subbing in for Yellow. And we're going to be talking about two topics today, tone and theme. So let's get right into
Hey, don't
tone.
police me.
Really, I want to open things up with, how do authors set tone properly, and when do we see people just completely mess that up? Like, what are the common mistakes that people make when they're setting up tone? If you want to go first.
Well, I could start with, how do authors set up tone? They usually set it up through the details, the setting or the seriousness of what's going on. Mm-hmm. You have like an argument or something, mm-hmm. or a battle or whatever that sets up the tone, or you have going to the ice cream store or whatever for a happy tone. And I guess they would.
That's the only thing you can do. Is you have something terrible happen.
Stories. If they're not going to the ice cream store, it's a sad story every time.
That's how you know.
I guess they would fail at setting tone if they went to an ice cream store and it was supposed to be the most depressing story ever. Yeah. They go to the ice cream store and then they drop dead because it's arsenic-laden ice cream.
Oh my god.
I know, the number of movies I went in and then all of a sudden a murder happened within an ice cream shop, I'm like, am I supposed to be happy right now? Or am I supposed to be frightened? There's a conflict.
Yeah. That's what happens.
But I was going to say tone can also, be set through actions too, like if there's dark violent stuff going on, then it's determined that the tone is going to be dark and violent. So whenever someone makes like some wacky joke out of nowhere, it really hurts the tone because it's conflicting with the previously set tone.
And that actually has to do with, like, for some reason, I see people trying to insert comic relief into their stories, where the whole point of comic relief, it's called relief because you're afraid that the darkness, the whatever the negativity of whatever conflict is there is going to be too much for the audience. And if your conflict isn't that dark, comic relief is just not necessary. I mean, if your conflict it can be a very serious conflict without being super duper dark, and you can establish your tone in such a way that it depends on what the plot of the story is. But if you're not trying to tackle really, really, really extreme topics, like extreme cases of violence or sexual violence, things like that, if you're not trying to tackle those issues in your story, generally speaking, you don't actually need comic relief all that much. Yeah. And I think people just try to insert it either because they think they're funny, and a lot of people don't realize that being funny is actually pretty difficult. And the other reason, I think, is just because they think that... I'm not entirely sure why they think that it's important to just have comic relief in things willy-nilly.
Do you think it's something people add in because they kind of think they're expected to do it? How you see those cliffies to end things.
Oh my god, yeah.
You see other people using comic relief and you're like, that's part of a perfect story. You get your drama, you get your action, you get your battles, and then you sprinkle it with comic relief.
Yeah, maybe. That might be it.
Because, I'm thinking there's definitely a middle ground there for comic relief where it works, and there's two sides where it really doesn't. One is where the story isn't really, dramatic, and then you throw it in and there's not a big enough difference in tone, and you're just going, why?
Yeah, why is this happening? Instead of, haha, that was funny, okay, let's get back into it.
Or where it's very, very dark, and then you throw it in there and it feels unnecessary again because of how much it tries to
like
shift
that
things.
Spyro story, where, they kept trying to throw in comic relief to scenes that absolutely did not need it.
Yeah.
Like every scene with the soldiers where it's like such a dark situation, and they keep making jokes, and you're like, what?
You're right. And
what the fuck are you joking about?
It could work. In principle, it's not necessarily terrible. It's just that you'd have to be really delicate with how funny you are. You can't be too funny, otherwise it just totally wrecks the tone.
I mean,
You can't be
gallows
not funny
humor,
at all.
and then there's like knock-knock jokes, and they're like telling like knock-knock jokes.
Yeah.
When if they were gonna tell a joke at all, gallows humor would probably suit it better.
Yeah.
Black comedy would work to keep the tone. If
Dark.
not completely consistent, it would be able to. I don't know. I mean,
To mitigate.
Someone
it.
who's really good at adding just dark comedy within serious scenes is Tarantino. I
Yes.
I went a recent
yeah, absolutely.
marathon of his movies, and it's just excellent when it's
Which
like,
ones did you watch?
Django.
Yes.
Then I
I
watched
love
Hateful
Django.
Eight
Yep.
and everything else, but just for
How was
this-
Hateful Eight?
I really liked it. Some people hated it, but
Okay.
for a fan, I started laughing quite a bit in the movie.
Uh,
I went with Sam and Griffin, who was on the Minecraft story.
right. Yeah.
So
I
that
remember-
was just
I
excellent.
remember. Like I knew these guys.
Yeah.
In real life.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Rip
Yeah.
in memory.
Yeah.
But you can't just have like a Jar Jar Binks in a
Yeah.
kind of Tarantino story filled with blood, because then you're like, wait, what?
Right. But he handles inserting funny moments.
Right, just
really
quick, witty lines here and there.
Right. Or witty moments, even if the characters don't say anything. You know what's a movie series that really does a terrible job setting tone? And maybe this is just opinion here. This is just opinion here. The Paranormal Activity
solid
series.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, some people think they're really scary, but I'm not only not scared by the movies, but when I went and saw, I think it was the marked ones, I went with Jordy, I went with Mitch, and I went with a couple other friends
Some
of
of
ours.
our real life friends.
Some of our real life friends. And Mitch and I were just cracking up the whole time. Like, I tried to be quiet, but I couldn't do it. Like, I was just screaming with laughter. I had tears in my eyes. It was funny.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that Paranormal Activity isn't supposed to be a comedy film?
Apparently not.
What?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like...
It was
once-
based on true events of a slapstick duo.
It's the Laurel and Hardy of our times. Yeah. What are their names? Micah and Katie, or whatever
I
their character
couldn't
names.
even say.
Yeah, but like it's, I think there are like moments in the Paranormal Activity movies where I feel like they've set tone correctly, but for the most part, it's like just ridiculous. Like it's either over the top action, or it's just over the top boredom. Like you're just waiting for things to happen, and then they insert comic relief, like there was tension for them to relieve.
Yeah.
When there's no tension, because they haven't set a tone of horror, they've just set a tone of waiting for something to happen.
Just watching two people go about their days.
Right. They're like, I'm going about my day. Oh, I'm cutting up some shallots because I'm going to make some food later. And, in the background, one of the chairs moves. And it's like, ooh.
I'm spooked out of my
That's
core.
really
Yeah,
fucking scary, bro.
The spookiness, the scariness, the fear you feel when someone pulls a chair with string.
See, you play, but the scariest thing is you as an audience notice this, but the character is oblivious and keeps cutting scallops. You're like, damn.
I learned about this irony back in high school.
I don't remember whether it was dramatic irony or that other one.
Is this the one where you have 1,000 spoons but need a knife?
I don't remember shit.
So that was an example of not setting enough tone. It
Not
had,
setting
it had,
tone
it
properly,
had
yeah.
creepy moments, but overall didn't have enough to be effective. I can think of a horror movie that jumped in the complete other direction, and that was Barricade, wasn't it?
Oh
Where
my god.
I've never
yes.
The last
Barricade.
15 minutes
Me
were
neither.
just non-stop scares.
Yeah,
Like,
Barricade was a movie, I don't remember who made it or who was in it, actually.
I think it was some wrestler.
It's
so
a-
it was one of those. But
It's on Netflix. It's a horror story that doesn't make any sense. Because, like, the first hour and 15 minutes is, like, build up and it's sort of okay. It's not bad. And then, like, the very end is just
non-stop scares and
big air quotes around scares, but it's scares that, because they're happening so frequently in a row, in like a 5-10 minute span, it's not scary. Because you don't have time to, like, have the tone, like, you don't have the time to go, oh my god, that was scary. Like, you just go, what is going on?
You look around the corner and some guy has got a knife up and the guy's like, and he runs away and he runs to the window where he looks out and someone is burying, like,
right, there's somebody burying his wife.
Kids
and
or
like,
whatever, and the guy looks up, he has no face, and you go, and then he runs. And
this isn't what happens in the movie. We're just giving examples. Yeah. But then, like, he turns around and there's a guy with a chainsaw, and then you're like, and then he, like, he runs down the hall and he grabs his gun, but his gun, he opens it up, and instead of ammo, it's got snakes! And you're like, what is going on?
See, if I was in that movie, I would just say, enough! And I would just stand there and let whatever fate come to me.
Wow, that's dark.
I was going to say, Barricade is a WWE
so
movie.
snakes.
You were right. It's a production company, WWE Studios, distributed by WWE Studios.
Yep.
It doesn't seem to star any wrestlers, though.
No, okay. WWE Entertainment does all kinds of stuff.
Man, I was really hoping it would star John Cena.
The crazy thing is, like, they're not all bad movies.
Like
some
Leprechaun
of them are
Origins?
What?
Leprechaun Origins?
That one's a great movie.
What about The Patriot? Wasn't that one that had John Cena?
That was a really good one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was WWE. Getting back to tone, it's okay. So we've seen some movies that try to set tone poorly because they try too hard, like Barricade.
Yeah.
We've also talked about ones that try to set tone poorly because they don't do enough. But what about things that set tone correctly? Can you name some things that have set tone correctly? Because I can't. There's nothing in the world that has ever set tone correctly.
It doesn't. It straight up doesn't exist.
Never have.
No one's ever done it. All right, moving on. I mean, it's one of those things that you just kind of, once they said it correctly in like the first 30 seconds,
yeah,
you're hooked with the movie and you watch it.
Right.
And
it gets you.
or the
That's
story.
setting up your tone. If you're a writer or some kind of creator of any kind of media, if you set up your tone correctly, we'll follow you basically anywhere. I mean, if you set up your tone as a sci-fi movie, I'm one of those guys who gets all, I get kind of caught up in the weeds of, that doesn't make any sense scientifically. And if you don't set your tone precisely right for me, it's hard for me to just continue to give you credit where give you a pass on things that you messed up. Like, the movie Oblivion, I'm going back to talking about something that didn't do it completely right. The tone at the beginning of the movie didn't sit well with me. It just felt too almost bland. I'm talking about the Tom Cruise movie Oblivion. Like, as soon as I probably could have given it a pass if it correctly established a dystopian or a sci-fi tone or something like that. Instead of setting those things up, it kind of just seemed like Tom Cruise walking around at the beginning of the movie with a monologue, and then he explained some of the sci-fi stuff after setting that up, and the sci-fi stuff didn't fit because instead of feeling like a dystopia, he's in a desert, so it doesn't feel like you're in like a ruined city or something like that. It just felt like he was just alone, and loneliness wasn't the tone they were going for. The tone they were going for was, ooh, look at our cool sci-fi. And it didn't work for me when they said later in the movie, and I will never forget this, they said that the moon got half destroyed. He said the moon got destroyed, but it didn't really.
Mid-shield.
And you can see up in the sky, there's the moon there, and there's a bunch of pieces of the moon, and I'm fine with that. That part I don't care. Super weapon, fine, whatever. What he said though was that the destruction of the moon caused earthquakes and tsunamis. And
that just
as
happens.
someone who knows the bare minimum about how tides work, since most of the matter is still up there by the moon, the tides shouldn't be affected all that much. And earthquakes shouldn't happen at all. That doesn't even make sense. I can't give the movie a pass because it didn't set the tone up. If it had set the tone up as a really cool dystopian thing where everything went to shit, I could probably just give it a pass and say, whatever, something caused earthquakes, everything went to shit,
Can I talk about something that does set the tone correctly?
Please do.
The World War Z, the book, not the movie. I'm going back to writing. The book World War Z is one of my favorite books. on kind of the zombie topic, and the reason I love it so much is that it's kind of a sequel-ish thing to the Zombie Survival Guide, which was, was kind of like a joke book. But the thing I like so much is that it took everything from the Zombie Survival Guide and it built its whole universe around that. It had an established tone throughout the whole thing. The whole book, somebody's interviewing all these survivors from the zombie apocalypse or whatever that happened, and throughout the whole thing, it's got a very consistent dark tone. I don't want to say like super. It's a kind of a dark tone. And it sets it up in the beginning, and it stays with the tone throughout the entire book, and it's a pretty good read. It's a very good read, actually.
I haven't read the book, and I haven't seen the movie.
The movie sucks. The movie has nothing to do with the book, but the book, literally nothing to do with the book.
That sounds really interesting.
It does a very good job.
I haven't read that either.
Of setting up its tone and then staying consistent with its tone throughout the whole thing. It does it very well.
You were saying the Zombie Survival Guide, that one's kind of comedic.
It's a novelty thing. It's not really comedic in the sense that it's got jokes. It's comedic in the sense that it's taking such a ridiculous thing and treating it so seriously.
Oh, okay, I see.
But then it becomes less comedic when you read World War Z, which kind of just, it's like, oh, see, this is an actual thing that happened.
Right, yeah.
So, it's kind of comedic in the sense that it's like, taking something that obviously could never happen and writing such a serious guide on it. But then when you read the, World War Z, it took all the rules from the other book.
Right. It's like,
it's almost, and made it like, say, it actually happened, see? And it wasn't funny.
It's not like a nudge nudge wink wink kind of humor. It's more of more of like an ironic black irony kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting. I should read that. Yeah. No, there have been, I think, some of the best any kind of media sets its tone pretty much as soon as you encounter it, however you encounter it. Like the best books set their tone and stay with their tone and only change tone when they're trying to develop something else about the story. They don't just change tone because they can. They change tone because the whole plot has moved in some new direction, So if everything was fine and then, the tone shifts to one of urgency because something terrible is about to happen. I'm trying to remember, there was a book that we had to read in, I think, middle school where
Clifford's
a kid and his, I think, younger brother, like his baby brother and their dog, get caught in a tornado. Do you remember this?
Seems kind of familiar.
Clifford's
big tornado. Yeah, that was
Clifford's tornado
adventure.
Tornadic day.
Tornadic day. Yeah.
Is it just the novelization of the movie Twister?
It's the novelization of the movie Twister, where they introduced a new character. He's a young boy. He's He's spry and whatever, and he's witty, and he always knows what to say or whatever.
He was a perfect boy,
and he's totally the audience mouthpiece.
Yeah,
only young children.
No, dude, it's just a novelization of the movie Clifford's Big Day.
What I was gonna say was, it's like right at the beginning of the story. Obviously, a tornado has not struck yet. That would be a very strange place to start a story, but. It's like, it's the day of the tornado striking, and this kid and his friend and they're riding their bikes or whatever, and they're noticing that the winds are a little bit strong, and he talks about what he does with his friend and stuff like that, and it sets the tone of, you see the cover of the book, you see the title of the book, you know that a tornado is coming, but the character doesn't know, and because he doesn't know, he's sort of carefree, and the change of tone happens because something's about to happen. Because, the weather is changing, and he has to get into the basement, and he doesn't know where his parents are, and a tornado comes and destroys the neighborhood, and all that stuff happens, and, there's no fucking comic relief right in the middle of it, like, suddenly the dog gets pulled away by the tornado, and he's like, oh man, look at him, he looks like he's having a great time. Like,
nah, dude, you know what you should have said? The dog gets pulled away by the tornado, and he goes, doggone.
Dog gone.
Dang.
And then as soon as the dog is pulled away, then his doghouse is pulled away, and he just goes into his doghouse and takes a nap.
Yeah, like
what?
Yeah, like his dog bowl nicely slides in there. But
and then the kid goes doggone.
Kind of changing tone or contrasting tone can be part of the story.
You're right, but
saying-
it has to follow what happens in the plot. Like you can't have, if you're trying to stick comic relief in there, the comic relief has to come with something, a new turn of events that makes it work. You know,
Or
you
it
can't
could-
just change tone while nothing happens in the plot.
Or I was going to say it could be someone's established character that they make, that they have a dark sense of humor or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it could be always that one guy who's got to say that one, you know, dark joke or whatever.
But who tells dark jokes when nothing happens?
I was going to say, but it needs to be consistent with the rest of it. Because like you said, who tells dark jokes? And also people shouldn't suddenly come out of nowhere and start telling dark jokes when it's never been established that they would ever do anything like that.
Right. I mean, like if this kid's friend, the dog gets pulled away by the tornado, nobody says anything, there's no comic relief, and then, like, 20 pages later, his friend goes, "Dog gone." Like, that would be really shitty. That'd be comic relief inserted where there was tenseness, and, you know, the plot has moved on now. Now something else is happening, you know. They need water, or they need food, or they're still
need
enduring the
dogs.
storm, or whatever it is. And now those plot events are no longer relevant, and the comic relief is no longer relevant.
Yeah, again, you need a good disparity if you're going to have conflicting stuff like that.
So you're just
Yeah.
describing the Spyro story again.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I am.
And I have an example that I want to bring up. Actually, you mentioned you wanted to bring it up, but this is a really good example of having, like, you know, conflicting tones, but having it work out is the show Rick and Morty.
Yes. Have you seen Rick and Morty, Jeremy?
No.
Oh my God, you need to.
I've seen random episodes, though. I know the basic premise.
Yeah.
I know what it's about.
Rick and Morty are
But
swag.
Very
about
often,
Rick and
half the
Morty.
family will be going on this crazy space adventure,
Yeah.
while the other half is dealing with a dissolving marriage.
Right, dissolving marriage or something really serious.
Really serious that just comes out of the blue.
Right, and since I don't want to, I don't
Spoilers?
really want to give spoilers, but I will say this: one of the things Rick and Morty does to change tone and set tone properly is they have really strong characterization.
Yeah.
Rick is consistently a douchebag to Morty, and Morty is consistently a dumbass. And you know, all the characters have their own traits. They've come up with this stuff, and all that characterization builds to, you know, where there's repeated conflicts, like the dissolving marriage that comes up a couple times throughout the show. Not even a couple, quite a few times throughout the show. That's not like the centerpiece of the show. It's not about their dissolving marriage. It's just one of the like side subplots kind of.
Yeah.
And the tone in those scenes can be funny and they can be sad, and when they're sad, they lower you into the sadness smoothly and then pull you out of it soon enough that you don't feel like you're about to die, but leave you in there long enough to genuinely feel sad. Like, there are moments in the show that are so dark that you're honestly wondering whether or not they're trying to play it for laughs at all, and those dark moments tend to be not played for laughs even slightly. A lot of shows would cut away during those times, and people who have seen the entire show pretty much know exactly which moment I'm talking about. Throughout the whole show, there's one moment that's really, really dark, and there are a couple moments that are really, really dark, but the moment I'm talking about, they play it straight, and other shows would probably cut away to like show us something else. If it was on Family Guy, you would see the beginning of it, and then it would cut away to what everybody else is doing, and then afterwards you'd see like what happened afterwards, or you know, how the situation resolved itself. Yeah. But Rick and Morty
they wouldn't really deal with the moment.
Right. Instead, Rick and Morty chose to just animate and show the entire thing, played completely straight. There's no jokes, except they do cut away to Rick. It's something that's happening to Morty. They cut away to Rick to show Rick having a good time, and that contrast helps set the tone. Yeah. Instead of being comic relief, instead you feel even worse, because this dark, depressing moment is occurring, and Rick isn't there to help Morty through what is a very traumatic situation. And then, you know, they pull back out of it because Morty comes to Rick and says, you know, hey, I really just want to go home. And Rick is like, but I'm having a good time. And Morty's like, no, really, I think we should go home. And Rick realizes something happened, and he in this show that's generally a very funny show, he says, "Okay, yeah, let's go home," and he tries to cheer Morty up, and the episode ends on a great note.
Yeah, we'll
and
say that.
And it goes from really funny to like super serious, and then back to really funny, and you feel like you had your hand held the entire way. And that's really what needs to happen when you're gonna try to accomplish something like that. It's easy for people to fuck up putting funny moments in serious things. And they fuck it up, but it's not that big a deal. If you put a funny moment in a serious thing, it's really on the big grand scale of it, not that big a deal. If you put something serious in a funny, like a generally funny thing, that's a lot harder to do. And when you do it right, it's noticeable and it really hits home, even if you're not, experienced with it.
Right.
Along that line, something else that you wanted to bring up though was mood whiplash, which is kind of that thing happening, but with sudden, like 180-degree cliffs.
Yeah.
Which is trying to do what we were just talking about, but doing it really poorly.
Yeah. What do you think about mood whiplash?
I think someone who is great at this is
great at accomplishing mood whiplash in a good way or a bad way?
Terrible way.
Okay.
Any Adam Sandler or Kevin James
Jesus
film?
Christ, you're right. I didn't even think
I sat through Mall Cop 2.
I don't know why.
I did not watch the first one.
I didn't either.
Dude, you missed out the best thing. It was Paul Blart Meme Cop. You missed out on it.
But it's just a constant, look how terrible this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
You should poke and make fun at him.
Yeah.
To, he's our hero, let's support him.
Right.
Because it goes back and forth of, you should hate this guy, you should be happy you're not this guy, but also you want to cheer for him, and he's, like, the main hero of the story. Because you're just kind of, like, going back and forth between, haha, look at this guy, to, aw, I want the best for him.
Right.
So it's
yeah.
so awkward, so terrible, and you're just sitting there, like, I know there was a few times I had to pause and get up and, like, just walk away.
Wait, you could have paused?
You
could have
like,
stopped.
Why did you
watching
sit
this
through
film.
Mall
like
Cop 2?
handcuffed to the theater
I
seats?
thought it was like you were sitting there and other people were watching the movie.
No.
And you just happened to be there.
This was by myself on Thanksgiving.
Why?
Wow.
On Thanksgiving?
You're a lot more pathetic than I thought you were.
Yeah.
Being real.
We're opening up.
Why do you think I was so happy to come down here today? I wasn't
You
sitting
were watching Mall Cop 2 again.
You were staring at the You were staring at the poster for Mall Cop 3, just crying.
Yeah.
All I asked for more Cop 3 or friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, when something happens that feels not unexpected but unnecessary, and you just think, oh fuck, I guess this has happened. I guess we have to do this now.
I guess this is where it's going.
Some really happy thing, and then boom,
Yeah.
everything changed.
We'll wrap up on this note if you guys don't mind. The one thing that really bothers me, like if I'm reading or watching something, for some reason I can't quite explain why, and sometimes this is done to good effect because sometimes this is exactly what the creator is trying to do. But for me, I really I get this sort of really serious reaction to moments that are like happy moments where someone's celebrating or something really wonderful is happening, but the characters involved don't realize that they're actually making something much, much worse. And then they suddenly realize it. The example I used when I was describing this to Connor was, if somebody was, a bunch of friends are throwing a congratulations you're pregnant thing, party for a friend, and the pregnant person walks in, and it turns out they just had a miscarriage, and they just found out. Moments like that, where that sudden, oh my god, we're really rubbing it in, and we had no idea. For some reason, that really almost makes me cry. Even in bad things. That kind of mood whiplash really gets to me for some reason. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just me. Maybe that's other people.
No,
too.
that's definitely just especially with something dealing with loved ones or just something because you're just built up, you're just so excited for the person. You're like, oh, it's literally the worst thing that could have happened to you at this time.
Yeah, and like that kind of switch of tone. I've seen it done correctly, like done in a way that elicits that response, but is also useful because that's the tone they're trying to set. But I've also seen it done where they're trying to like let us down easy from something, and it just completely fucks up the tone because it puts you into this really dark place. Puts me into this really dark place where I'm not willing, where I'm not happy, and I can't get back into that happy mood as quickly, Anyways.
So basically, to summarize, like, how do you make a good tone? You start consistent and stay consistent, or if you are going to have changes, you understand what they do for your story.
Right. They need to follow your plot. They need to follow the events. Even small events can lead to small tone changes, but if you don't have any tone, if you don't have a plot event going on, don't change the tone. It's not going to be helpful. It's going to just ruin your story.
Right.
All right. I think that's... Matt, did you have anything to add?
I did not have anything to add. Nope.
All right. Let's move right on to themes. And before I open things up for discussion and then overwhelm the discussion with me talking, I want to kind of establish what I mean by themes. So, for a work, a written piece, a movie, or whatever, the subject of the piece is what it's about. So, if we're looking at a book like World War Z, it's about, and again, I haven't read it, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. It's about zombies.
You're wrong!
It's about a zombie apocalypse.
Absolutely not. It's
that's
about the failings of the human mind. It's about love, or what was it? Drugs,
and the
sex, drugs, rock and rolls, and the failings of the human race.
The subject is what the thing is about, but the themes are what the writer is trying to tell us about those things. So really basic stuff, really simple. Sometimes things are like in most video games like SSX. If it's not trying to tell us a really deep story, what the themes are generally are just like we're talking about snowboarding or we're playing a game about snowboarding, and the theme is snowboarding is cool. I mean, that's about it. That's the deepest theme you can really get from it.
Yeah.
And so,
I always took it as, although you're strong by yourself, sometimes you need a little friends to help you throughout the way.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly not what happens in SSX.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
that's what happens.
That's not what happens in Tricky.
I'm pretty sure I leave the starting goal and I punch people out left and right and then I boost away.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that SSX is all about sex, drugs, rock and roll, and the failings of the human race.
Yeah.
You have to do coke to get your higher speed
That's how you
stat.
get boost. Yeah, that's how you get boost.
Gotta do coke.
No, you gotta do speed to get your speed stat up.
Yeah. You gotta do speed to get boost, you know?
Alright, there's snowboarding
you're
on
boosting
the coke.
to get speed. You're doing speed to get boost.
Yeah.
It's really stupid.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. It's
That's how addiction starts, I hear.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think Simon's so crazy?
Themes are tough, because I mean, sure, you could think of examples that have really strong themes, though probably, the high literary canon or whatever, or the greatest movies ever or whatever, the things that top everyone's lists on everything. But a lot of people and a lot of simple, I'll say simple movies, simple books, simple stories don't have a theme you can pull from it because they don't really have enough in there to come up with a message.
Yeah.
There's just events, there's just people doing things, and you can't get anything from it. So,
I mean, I have a question that I want to ask Jeremy, and then I want to get Matt's input too.
Okay.
Connor, you can shut up.
I'm
kidding.
Walk up, Connor.
okay.
So, I want to know, I forgot my question.
Yes, I do.
Well,
Does he is though?
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say was, when you're looking at something, trying to establish themes, do you think writers online or in general or whatever, do you think good writers, bad writers, take this question however you want, take it in whichever direction you want. Do you think they should start off by deciding what themes they want to convey, or do you think it's better for them to, well, this is kind of a loaded question. I'm not even going to finish it the way I was going to. I was going to say, I was going to say, do you think they should just place events and hope themes come out? But that's obviously a loaded question. That's obviously the wrong answer.
So I guess how much of writing should be determined by what you want to say through it in advance.
Yeah. Should they be crafting their events around the themes that they want to convey, or is there some kind of middle ground there?
I think it definitely relies on a middle ground, because if you go in with what themes you want to do and then write your story around that, I think it sometimes ends up more like a public service announcement sort of thing. Like, see, at the end of this, you learned that family really do mean a lot.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
That's not always the case. I just noticed.
Because family sometimes means nothing.
Right, that's how I'm
Fuck them.
Yeah.
But
kill and eat your parents, kids. That's what I say.
Okay.
That's what
This is Bob from the Steel Donuts saying... No, okay.
But I think that themes are very important, like, in the writing process, because as you start writing, you start kind of figuring out what, like, some themes some characters display. Like, you can write more about the character once you kind of realize some themes you already started, like, subconsciously. Then you're kind of like, they kind of are these themes. Based on what we know about these themes, we can expand on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna have to collect my thoughts. So,
Do you want Connor can go?
No, I don't want Connor to go. I'm gonna go. I'm just trying to think.
I don't want Connor to go either.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Connor.
Okay.
Let me just give you some sensual back rubs to make you feel better.
I'm just trying to think of the best way to say what I want to say. I feel like you shouldn't necessarily be like writing a story and being like, these are the themes my story's gonna have, you know, like from the start. But I feel like, I guess like him, like there's like a middle ground. Like you're writing your story, right? And I feel like authors insert themes into their story. You know, they have their story as your plot, and then they kind of insert themes into the story to try and, you know, get that kind of, I don't know, like, I don't want to, is emotional the wrong word? I don't know, like, I don't know, like, whenever I watched, like, I don't know, Madoka Magica or whatever, there's a lot of themes of love and friendship, or like Nanoha, you know, a lot of themes of friendship or whatever, but, I mean, like, they seem, I don't want to say, like, separate from the story, but they seem like the story could go on without necessarily having themes of love and friendship. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think, you know, so basically, like, you know, one of the things that I think I see, maybe you guys disagree, in a lot of fanfic that we cover, especially the stuff that's a little bit longer, the shorter ones, it's hard to establish a theme because there's not enough
the
there to work
MTSUs.
with.
There's not really a story for a lot of them too.
But
sometimes the theme is just, I really want to fuck.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was, you know, sometimes it's that what we're seeing is, I think, the author has this list of events that they'd like to see happen, and as they start writing, instead of looking for the themes that are there, that they've already started, like the little seedlings of themes, and then building on those, they just keep adding events and hoping themes will sprout without any effort on their part.
Exactly.
And so,
I don't want to talk. I mean, if you have more to say, but I am going to want to give my side. I think, and I'm one of those people who I try to pull together every part of a project before I actually work on it. You know, that's why I've never actually written like a 1,000-page book or whatever, because like I would never start something with only like the slightest idea of what's going to go on, and I hate when fanfiction authors do that.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, if you have character development, you have story progression, you have a beginning, a middle, and an ending, you'll easily be able to figure out what you're trying to say.
Right. I mean, you can say you have this plot in your head, and you wouldn't have thought, I want to write this down, if you didn't think it would be cool. You wouldn't write a story that you genuinely didn't think would be cool.
Man,
nobody
I hate
writes
the thought
stories.
of this.
What are you
this
talking
sucks.
about? I
why
read
am I even
Clifford's
writing
Big
this?
Red Adventure, and I mean that story, I didn't think it was gonna be cool. Clifford goes in like a tornado, like fuck.
No, but you didn't write that story. Someone else did, and when they wrote that story, or didn't in this case,
What are you talking about? That's my story. Don't steal that from me. I wrote
God.
yeah, original story, do not steal.
It's OC. Do not steal.
Yeah, so the you know, when you
Cricket noise, cricket noise, cricket
I
noise.
don't remember what I was saying.
You started with when you.
Yeah,
if
I
that
know.
helps
Before that.
at all.
Before
I threw it. I'm sorry. I destroyed it all.
It's okay.
But yeah, I think if you have a complete picture in mind, that's probably the easiest way to make sure that your work actually says something and says something worth merit.
Right.
You know, maybe once in a while you could string a bunch of crap together and you will accidentally have a message to your work.
You're right. You know, the thing is, like...
If you have, you know, if you put the thought into it and the care into it and you know where you're going, then you could do that as you're building it.
Right, and you know, the thing is your theme is informed. Your themes are informed by what you think is cool. So if I'm writing a story about SSX or just a story about snowboarding, and I think snowboarding is cool, then my story about snowboarding will inevitably have quote unquote cool moments. I'm not gonna say they're definitely cool, but they're things I think are cool.
I really like the cutscenes in SSX.
Yeah, they're really good. Well voice acted. You know, you'll have cool moments, and those cool moments are going to start setting up your themes. You're gonna be thinking, okay, well, here are things that I think are cool, so let me reverse engineer. What am I really trying to say here? What do I think is cool about this? And can I expand on that? Or am I done? Is this all that I can say? If I just think flips are cool, and I have a scene where he does flips, and everyone goes, wow! There's not a whole lot more I can say. But if I think it's really cool that people put in time and effort to learn things, or, you know, if I think it's really cool that somebody developed this cool technology, or that science is really interesting and how that works, or whatever my story's about, whatever I think is the good things that happen in the story, those are the things that you can build themes around. And then you need to reverse engineer why you think those things are good and expand on those things. If they're complex thoughts, you should be able to expand at least moderately well.
Based on what you focus on. In your example, you could have the theme of practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
You could have the theme of, like, everyone is their own individual. You need to have your own individual style.
Yeah. You know, and you could take it in any of those directions, and if what you think is really cool about your characters is that they're all the same, then you could make your theme something about being the same as everyone else, if that's what you wanted to do. Or if you thought it was really cool how different all your characters were, then you'd make one of your themes that you would intentionally write towards in the rest of the story, after chapter 1 and 2, that you've set up your characters. You know, after that, you can start setting up you can start building your theme of, you know, the differences are what make us really cool, or whatever your story happens to be about.
On the topic of sports games, there's one that actually has quite a bit of nice themes that growing up I enjoyed a lot. And I haven't played it since then, so it might have aged a bit. But Tony Hawk Underground, the first one.
Thug.
Yeah. Straight up thug.
I never played Thug.
The game starts out, you're just a small skater in New Jersey. You have a friend, a bit of a dick, but you get along with him.
Sounds
but
like
as
Connor
the
and
story
me.
goes, he becomes professional, you get lots of publicity, and you're like, you're at the height of
Still
it
sounds
all.
like Connor and me.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, your friend dicks you over.
Sounds like Connor and me.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He just kind of ruins it all for you. So you get kicked out, you get put back on the streets of Jersey, you back to square one, and then you realize skating for fun is what it's all about, and you become a soul skater. You get some new soul skater moves.
Yeah.
Swag.
Yeah.
That's pretty
You
cool.
get your soul.
So the theme is, you know, like, even your friends closest to you can, like, betray you, so you have to rely on the strength of yourself. And also, if you're just in it for the money, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, that's true. You're not going to be fulfilled if you're just in it for the cash money.
Your friend's going to ruin your life in Moscow, and then you're just like, ugh.
Granted, I disagree with that theme because the only 3 things I care about are cash, pussy, and money. But even so,
Pussy, money, weed, man.
yeah,
That
no,
explains
cash,
that
pussy, and
chest
money,
tattoo
dude.
you have.
Yeah, cash, pussy, money.
Yeah.
Fuck
Is
you
there-
for
is there
reminding
really
me that I
anything else?
spelled money wrong. But
Is there really anything else to life besides cash, pussy, and money? Like, I'm trying to think of other things.
that's the theme. See, that's the
That's
theme
the-
of this podcast.
There's nothing more to life.
Right, eat your parents and cash, pussy, money. That's it.
See, that's the theme of my new book called Cash, Pussy, Money.
Actually,
A survivor guide.
I'm actually gonna write a book called Clifford Gets Cash, Pussy, and Money.
Okay.
And then it's gonna have the subtitle Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and the
Yeah, a
Failings
story of
the
love,
Human
drugs,
Race.
and the failings of the human condition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So themes. There's we can talk about how we haven't really talked about things that have set themes properly and things that have set themes accidentally. One of the things, I mean, we brought it up a ton of times previously in the last podcast, but I'll bring it up again because it's a perfect example.
yeah,
of
the
this.
one requisite time you can bring it up.
Yeah, once per podcast. Yoi Mune does an amazing job of not setting up his themes properly. And instead of setting up the theme of, like, friendship, which he could have carried over from Nanoha, or
Pussy,
which he could have
Pussy
set up
Money
anytime before chapter
His
20.
character was cool
21.
as Flip. He could have been rolling in mad V.
He could have even set up themes like that his character was really cool, but he didn't even do that. Instead, every step of the way, his character turned into more and more of a psychopath, and it almost became, by the end of it, the theme was just because he's the protagonist doesn't mean he's a good guy, because by the end of it, he's like a mass murdering like sociopath.
That's something that the audience picks up, but the author's not intending.
Right, the author doesn't even have to intend to build themes. If you're really bad, you can set up themes accidentally. If you're really good, you can set up themes as you go, without even really thinking about it. And everybody in the middle is stuck basically themeless.
Yeah. But another big aspect to the theme discussion is it's not enough to just have a theme in mind and set it up, or I guess it is enough if you just want to have a theme in there, but people still need to react to it in a positive manner.
That's
you don't
true.
want to write something with a message that just, drops the ball or is
Right. You need to convey
Really,
your message
really
effectively,
unpopular.
and you need to make sure your message makes sense.
Yeah, we have a few examples of stuff that just came up with a bad theme pretty much out of nowhere. And the first one is probably most people's one of the all-time favorite bad movies of all time, which is Birdemic.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
It was-
Birdemic had great themes.
It was
I
about...
have not.
How have you not seen
How have you not seen...
You watched Paul Blart Mall Cop.
we watch bad movies together, and you haven't seen Birdemic?
Wow.
After this podcast, we're gonna sit down and watch it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
But it was about nothing for the longest time, and then suddenly at the end, it turns
Yeah.
into an environmental message.
Right.
And it's happened
shit.
so late, and we care so little that we're just like, oh,
Right,
okay.
like, first 45 minutes of an hour and a half long movie literally has no message. It's just a dude walking around. There's not even a conflict. Then the back half of the movie...
The next, 30 minutes of
The
the
next
last
30 minutes of
45
him
minutes,
are
they're
him
just
just-
getting attacked.
just getting attacked, walking around. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, a dude walks on screen and directly tells the audience all the themes that they were trying to convey about environmentalism and stuff. And then it goes back to to them just being attacked and nothing happening.
Yeah.
Like,
So is it essentially The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan?
if only it was The Happening. Because at least in The Happening, there was more of a prolonged the plants hate us thing because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
All of that stuff happens over the course of the last 2/3 of the movie. In Birdemic, it's literally like a 5 to 10 minute single shot of
Yeah.
a dude telling
Yeah,
you,
he's
the
like-
viewer,
He's
what's
like those
happening.
darn spruce bark beetles.
Yeah.
And the birds, they're attacking us because we ruined the environment. I gotta go. I hear a mountain lion.
Right.
I mean, when it's based off of a
God.
twist or whatever, usually, in those movies, you're trying to figure out what's going on, why are things like this, and then you discover, and technically that whole time there's been the mystery, it's been building up. The
Well,
theme.
it would have been building up if the movie was competently directed. and stuff,
That's
yeah.
why I wasn't using Birdemic as a good example.
Yeah, if Birdemic had been competently directed, birds, what you would have seen is all the birds are attacking and nobody knows why, and it's scary and you don't know why. All of this is happening, and near the end of the movie, someone would explain why. Or you'd get little pieces here and there, and it would all come together in the end. And you'd go, oh, I get it now. And the theme would be, whatever caused it, let's not let that happen. That would be the theme.
Yeah.
Instead, Birdemic was like, boredom, 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 nothing's happening, what the hell is going on, why am I watching this movie? Until a dude shows up and just tells you that the environment needs to be protected. And again, that's a message that I'm receptive to. I think we should protect the environment. But when you're displaying this... Don't give me that.
I watched you pour a can of oil into the dirt not an hour ago.
Fine. Okay.
We stained the sidewalk outside with food coloring to make it look like you died in that one video.
Okay.
Look, it's still out there.
Okay, fine. Let me correct myself. I think other people should protect the environment.
Oh, look, it's not that guy, man.
Yeah, not me. Haha. Everyone else should. Yeah, okay, so I'm receptive to the message, but because they told it to us in such a crude and stupid way, it doesn't work. I'm not on board with this. I'm literally pouring gasoline out on the grass outside because I don't care
yelling,
anymore.
Fuck the birds.
Yeah, fuck the whole world.
Don't do that. The birds are gonna come down and explode.
Yeah, well, you're thinking of Mega Piranha now.
The theme.
That also happened because of the environment. Fun fact about Mega Piranha: the birds and the piranhas and Birds from Birdemic and the piranhas teamed up together to destroy the world.
Or
the
what if
ultimate cage match?
Or what if they fought? That'd be great.
Oh, I think that might be sci-fi or
a sci-fi,
a sci-fi movie.
So I guess one other thing, and I have this example, and honestly, I just really want to say this example. So it's one thing to just suddenly come up with a theme right at the end. It's another thing to destroy your theme right at the end. And I'm looking at you, the Goosebumps series. You can have, a lot of the books are something like, family is important or whatever.
Whatever the
you need to, stick with these people or whatever.
Be yourself.
Until the last page where he hits you with another twist and your family turned out to be aliens the whole time. And you go, okay.
Right, like sometimes those twists don't do anything to the theme. A lot of times they completely wreck the theme, and when you end on a note that turns the theme on its head, we're not sure what to think. You've completely wrecked your fucking theme.
I guess you showed me, author.
Yeah. Whoops.
Got 'em.
I guess family really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And there's actually we haven't really have we talked about things that set themes correctly?
No.
I mean, kind of like Tone. There's a million examples.
Yeah, well, there's a million examples of things that people really like, and if you want to see a movie or a game or a story that has good themes, you need to look at the things that that people already people already like, because people will pick up, even if they're not conscious about it, they'll pick up that there are themes here that they appreciate, like BioShock. BioShock has tons of themes about capitalism and about all kinds of serious topics, and it tackles them even if you don't really like the gameplay. The story and all of that stuff tackles the themes that they want to tackle, and nothing more, nothing less. It just does what it needs to do from the start. It tells you, you don't know what the themes are gonna be when you go in, if you're going in blind, but as you go through, as soon as it sets that tone where you come up with the bathysphere, everything from then on is setting up the tone, the themes that it wants to tell you for the entire thing. And another one that sets up really good themes is The Big Lebowski. It's one of my favorite movies, possibly my favorite movie. And throughout the whole thing, everything's constantly interconnected. The whole movie's directed in such a way that you can see hallmarks from previous scenes in the future scenes. Like, right at the beginning, he's going in the grocery store and he sees on the TV, George Bush Sr. saying, "This aggression will not stand." And then in the scene afterwards, he uses the phrase, "This aggression will not stand." And every single scene can be linked to future and past scenes in that way. And by doing that, the themes become things like, well, first of all, the dude abides. When life gives you lemons, abide. Not make lemonade, don't try to make the best, just abide, and you'll get through it. Whatever's going on in your life, you can get through it. And that's a very positive theme, and because the movie accomplishes its themes by setting up its tone correctly, setting its characters well, setting its dialogue really well, all of those things make it a really powerful useful theme that you don't have to think about. You just remember the movie fondly and go, yeah, okay, I can see that, you know? And that's how you set good themes. That's how you establish your themes well.
Agreed?
Right?
Yeah.
Good.
I agree.
I've got an example for something that sets up themes really well, and this is actually a music example, and it's the band Defeater. They're this hardcore band where all of their albums and all of their songs are set in this little universe. This 1950s family, father, World War II vet, father, mother, and 2 kids, and you know, there's not a very good family life, situation life, which leads to, you know, the kids lashing out and doing things, fighting each other, fighting against the dad, and then eventually, you know, the plot kind of goes forward and gets more violent, and you know, kind of the themes throughout it are like violence breeds violence, revenge breeds revenge, but also sometimes to end the albums they have like these bonus tracks, which are lighter tracks from the characters' perspectives, but they're not as angry, and these songs are about, you know, like regret or such, and it shows that inside there are these good people, but because of what's been done to them, they will do those things to other people in return.
It's not like all these other people are violent or those people are just bad people. I mean, there might be people out there who are just bad, but the themes are that good people can be led to do bad things if they have, you know, the right stimulus to make them do those bad things, whether that's violence used on them or something else. You know, if you like hardcore music, you should definitely listen to Defeater. It's pretty good.
I'll go check that out then.
Yeah. What are the good themes of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2?
Some good themes is that it shows that even if your daughter isn't the hottest Latina in the bunch,
Wow, this is a great start for a theme.
she can still get the wizard brother from Wizards of Waverly Place. So I think that's an excellent theme just because the future of my children, it's good to know that they could date a DCOM star.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
about it.
You know what? I'll find a good theme in Paul Blart. Okay, give me a second. All right, I figured it out. Even if you're Kevin James, someone will give you a shot.
I think that's a really good theme, actually.
You know what? I'll go ahead and give you the good themes from Clifford's Twister Day. All right.
Yeah.
Doggone.
Oh God.
The good themes of Twister's Clifford Day is even if your dog gets sucked away by a tornado, friendship still counts. Okay.
Yeah. Also, the bigger they are, the closer they stay to home.
Yeah, the bigger.
Yeah.
That's a good team,
He
right?
got lifted
Slow
from
and
the ground
stupid
about 2
wins the
inches and then
race.
dropped over in the yard over there.
Yeah.
That's the themes. The themes of Clifford's Big Day are slow and stupid wins the race, man.
Slow and stupid wins the race, yeah. Or, you know, sometimes a powerful force just needs to be fought with another powerful force. So that's
In
why
the form
that's
of a
why
giant dog.
Yeah.
right, that's why in Clifford's Big Day or Clifford's
Tornadic Day,
whatever the title keeps changing to, the tornado's coming down the street and Clifford runs right into it and starts yapping at it and biting it, you know, because it's like, you know, like dogs and sprinklers or whatever, and he's biting at the tornado and he's breaking up the wind and the wind just dissipates and everyone's happy except for the people whose homes were destroyed.
Well, you know, the real theme. Okay, real talk. Here's the real theme: is that sometimes good things can come from bad things.
Yeah, that's a good theme.
All right.
It's not why do bad things happen to good people,
No,
but why
it's-
do good things keep happening to John Mayer?
Oh man, yeah.
So,
You know, it's not why do bad things happen to good people. It's why does Adam Sandler keep getting money to make films?
It really crushes me knowing that Ridiculous
God.
6 is the most watched film on Netflix ever.
Are you serious?
Nope. No, I am
No,
serious.
you're not serious.
it's
No!
opposite
You
day.
caught my trap!
It's opposite. Okay.
Got him.
So I think, you know, to summarize, we should ask the big question here. What are the themes of the Steel Donut Glazecast?
The themes of the Glazecast are: if you're a good writer, you do things right, and if you're a bad writer, you do them wrong, and we don't like it.
Honestly, I seriously feel like the answer to all of the things we've covered so far is consistency. You know,
Pretty
if you have
much.
consistency in your plot, consistent characters, a consistent tone, set up a theme and do it consistently, you've done a decent work. So,
Consistency is really important, and Yeah, it's like that's really the overall theme so far.
I don't know if it applies to the other people on this podcast, but at least for me,
At least 2 of them are in the room with you, so
yeah,
watch
if
what
you
you
draw
say.
enough satanic pentagrams on your floor, draw enough, summoning
Demonic,
circles, then you will get invited to be on a podcast instead of watching Paul Blart for the 9th time today.
Today?
I mean, oh god,
Jeremy, correlation is not causation.
Yeah,
okay?
when you go back home, you're gonna go back and watch it for a
We
10th
didn't
time.
even notice the satanic pentagons or whatever.
Pentagrams.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think we've shot the shit long enough.
Shot the sheesh.
Yeah. So that was the second episode of the Glazecast. Thank you for joining us, Jeremy.
no problem.
And thank you for joining me, Connor.
No problem.
Thank you for joining me, Matt.
Fuck you.
Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
And thanks for watching, everyone. We're gonna try to have this available in different formats as well. So check the description.
I'm gonna work on that.
I should have
Alright,
said that at
peace
the
out.
beginning. Whatever.
You
All
should have
right,
said that at the
Let's
beginning.
go watch Birdemic.
Thanks for watching or listening.
Thanks for watching.